Just getting these shutters up. The way the storm is tracking towards the west, you never know. And really strange out of NOAA that their best shot, the most critical time when it was going near those Cuban mountains, that all of a sudden it just got depixelated. And we don't really see what happened. So it's all kind of fishy to me right now. So I'm getting these shutters up. We've got a friend here. He's hanging out with me as we're putting up these shutters. We're already getting some weird winds over here, by the way, as well. So, yeah, he's helping me here put up these shutters. So I'm just gonna put up some of the latest footage and data that I'm finding, and I'll be sharing it with you and just let you know how the storm goes throughout its duration. Stay safe out there. Look what other things I found in the storm. Now, I had seen this in a couple shots, and I just it was unusual at first when you see these lines, these straight lines coming out of this hurricane on the bottom right quadrant, and there was some on the left as well. So what are these lines doing? It's not natural for a hurricane. If you could show me some other footage of prior hurricanes have had this signature, let me know. This is from Mark, who captured this photo. I'm going to leave a link to him, to his FB channel. This is what Mark has to say about Hurricane Matthew. We are going to get nailed. My prediction is that the storm stays on its projected path. The entire coast of Florida is going to flood like we've never seen before. Then it can all be blamed on climate change. Weather systems are being engineered with such sophistication, advanced weaponry, and computer systems, drone technology, and an infrastructure at a cost of hundreds of billions of dollars going back to the early 80s. So are they cloud seeding this hurricane? As you can see, this hurricane has taken the most impossible journey. Though I barely touched Haiti. I did touch it on the very southern peninsula of Haiti. But then it just barely touched the eastern tip, missing these mountains. And when it was at the most critical point, NOAA blew it. And we lost the photo of that. Did they do this intentionally? I think so. Something happened over these mountains. The storm has continued to gain its strength. And I think the eye wall missed those mountains completely in Cuba, which is devastating news in Florida. And as you can see, it's possible they're forecasting this Hurricane Matthew could do a loop and hit Florida twice.
It's a scene of complete destruction here this morning. As we walk through the streets, you can see just these buildings. This building collapsed completely. The storm surge came ripping through here with the 100+ mile-per-hour winds and caused complete destruction. Here's the scene here this morning in Baracoa. Complete destruction. See, it's barrio entero devastado, mira. As they swing around, you see a lot of rooftops missing. That mountain or that big hill up there that used to be full of palm trees, and now they're just ripped apart.
Christina Consolo, aka Rat Chick, is reporting that Gonzo, the main hurricane hunter plane that flies into storms to take measurements, is having another problem. This is the same plane that Rat Chick posted about several days ago that was just put back into service after being out for several months due to corrosion problems. It's a hell of a time to lose this plane, as a Cat 3, soon to be Cat 4, if not higher hurricane, is only 36 hours away from hitting Florida. They have other Gulfstream backups, but none as well equipped as Gonzo, that has an onboard radar system.
estimates of damage already inflicted by Hurricane Ella are running into the millions.
Hurricane Matthew is predicted to reach the southeast U.S. coast by tracking eastward by Sunday. There is significant uncertainty regarding the evolution of the storm beyond this point. This storm is currently expected to bring hazardous weather to many parts of the southeast coast. Meanwhile, upstream, a cold front stretching from the northeast southwestward to the lower Mississippi Valley is expected to merge with Matthew on October 8. Hazards heavy rain across coastal parts of the Carolinas, SAT, October 8. High winds across portions of the southeast and the mid-Atlantic, SAT 2, October 8, 11. High significant wave heights for coastal portions of the southeast and the mid-Atlantic, SAT 2, October 8, 11. Enhanced wildfire risk across portions of the California, SAT, October 8. Flooding possible across portions of the Montana, southern Texas, and coastal parts of the southeast and Carolinas coast. For Saturday, October 8, Wednesday, October 12, Hurricane Matthew, currently a major hurricane north of Cuba, as of 2 p.m. EDT October 5, is expected to track northwestward to the southeast coast by October 8. This storm is anticipated to bring heavy rain to coastal parts of the Carolinas on October 8. Heavy rainfall prior to and during this period associated with Matthew may lead to flooding across parts of the southeast coast states. This storm is forecast to track eastward after reaching Cape Hatteras on Sunday. At this time, beyond Cape Hatteras, multiple models indicate the potential for the system to loop around clockwise toward Florida. However, there are significant differences amongst models regarding how close to the Florida coast the storm may travel. The threat for high winds and high significant waves is highlighted for October 8 to October 11, to account for the possibility of Matthew taking a looping track and impacting Florida after moving east off of Cape Hatteras. If Matthew remains near Florida thereafter, the threat for high winds and significant waves may extend further out in time. Sustained wind speeds and significant wave heights in these areas may reach 40 knots or greater and 20 feet or greater, respectively. This area will be monitored in the upcoming days. Data from an Air Force Hurricane Hunter plane a couple of hours ago indicated that the structure of Matthew had not changed very much, and the initial intensity remains at 105 carats. Another Hurricane Hunter plane will be in the eye soon. The environment continues to be favorable for Matthew to strengthen while it approaches the east coast of Florida during the next day. After that time, the shear is forecast to increase significantly, resulting in gradual weakening of the hurricane. Satellite images indicate that Matthew is moving toward the northwest or 325 degrees at about 10 carats. The subtropical ridge over the western Atlantic is still strong, and the flow pattern around this ridge should continue to steer the hurricane toward the northwest during the next day or two with no significant change in forward speed. After that time, the ridge will shift eastward, allowing Matthew to move northward very near or over the North Florida east coast, and then near or to the east of the Georgia and South Carolina coasts. By the end of the forecast period, models diverge considerably, with the GFS moving the cyclone southwestward toward land, and the ECMWF keeping Matthew over the Atlantic a good distance from the coast. The NHC forecast keeps Matthew over water. Key messages. 1. Matthew is likely to produce devastating impacts from storm surge, extreme winds, and heavy rains in the Bahamas. Please consult statements from the Meteorological Service and other government officials in that country. 2. When a hurricane is forecast to take a track roughly parallel to a coastline, as Matthew is forecast to do from Florida through South Carolina, it becomes very difficult to specify impacts at any one location. For example, only a small deviation of the track to the left of the NHC forecast could bring the core of a major hurricane on shore within the hurricane warning area in Florida. However, a small deviation to the right could keep the hurricane force winds offshore. Similarly, large variations in impacts are possible in the hurricane watch area in northern Florida and Georgia. 3. Tropical storm or hurricane conditions could affect South Carolina and North Carolina later this week or this weekend, even if the center of Matthew remains offshore. It is too soon to determine what, if any, land areas might be directly affected by Matthew next week. At a minimum, dangerous beach and boating conditions are likely along much of the U.S. East Coast during the next several days. 4. The National Hurricane Center is issuing potential storm surge flooding maps and prototype storm surge watch warning graphics for Matthew. It is important to remember that the potential storm surge flooding map does not represent a forecast of expected inundation, but rather depicts a reasonable worst-case scenario, the amount of inundation that has a 10% chance of being exceeded. In addition, because the flooding map is based on inputs that extend out only to about 72 hours, it best represents the flooding potential in those locations within the watch and warning areas in Florida and Georgia. If you live in a coastal area, Google search the highest points around your location. May God show mercy. Love you.